right now. As we come down the home stretch here, I just want to take a minute to talk about the controversy that was generated by the handful of protesters flying the Confederate flag on the top of the parking garage across from Bon Secours Wellness Arena. That got some national coverage, got some photos, got some Twitter mentions, and got some people a little bit riled up. And, you know, what their intent was, God only knows. Whether it was try and completely detract from the event that was going on, whether they were trying to send some kind of message on their beliefs and their heritage. You know, we live in a country that gives people like that the freedom to protest, as long as they were not on the property and they were operating within the confines of what the law allows. They were well within their rights to do what they were doing. Doesn't mean you have to like it. I certainly didn't like it, but they were well within their rights to do what they're doing. The shame to me is that something like that would be jumped on so much by the media. And I've been a member of the media all of my adult life. I know how the game works. I know, as we used to say, things like that sell newspapers. Well, now it gets hits on the internet, gets people going to your website, your Facebook page, your Twitter feed. That's what generates, for lack of a better term, I want to say excitement, but that's not right. But that's what generates interest. You know, the old line, sex sells, controversy sells. That's the mindset. And what bothers me, it's a news story, and it has to be covered, and I understand that. But then there's a sensationalizing of it. And I look at one particular tweet that really bothered me yesterday. And it's by a guy who, by and large, I enjoy reading his stuff. I think he does a great job at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. It's Jeff Schultz. He took and shared on Twitter yesterday a very straightforward story from the Associated Press on what was going on with the protesters, that it was happening, talked about the background of why the NCAA tournament was not allowed here for so long, the flag finally coming down from the top of the State House 2 years ago, which opened the door for something like this to happen, and the controversy that all of that generated, or I guess nearly 2 years ago. And it was a very straightforward story by the Associated Press in delving into why they were there, what they were doing, their rights to be there, the background. And when I looked at the story, I had no trouble with that because they covered it as a news story. They gave us who, what, when, where, and why. And as the AP does, they didn't offer any opinion on it. It was just reporting the story. That's fine. Jeff Schultz shares the story and tweets this: "Set your clocks back 150 years. Confederate flag flies next to NCAA Arena in South Carolina." Now, I've got a problem with that. Because, yes, it did fly, and yes, the AP did cover it, and yes, it was a news story, and yes, it does harken back to a dark time in the state and the South, and it covers up, or it exposes a lot of wounds of people here in the South who look at that flag as part of their heritage, whether they're right or whether they're wrong. They do, and there's a lot of controversy about it. It will always be a controversial issue here in this state and in this part of the country. But I just thought it was a little disingenuous of Jeff Schultz to share that story, but do it with that tweet to set back your clocks 150 years. Because a handful of people on top of a parking garage or on the sidewalk across from the venue, which might have numbered as many as 12, does not do anything to take away from what Greenville did in putting on this tournament. And to me, that's a case where you have a guy who is trying to over-sensationalize the story and is trying to do something either to appease his Twitter followers, gain more Twitter followers, get his opinion out there, which, again, it's fine. It's his Twitter feed. He can do what he wants to do. But I thought it was very disingenuous of him to do so because it sensationalized a story that was really next to nothing. It was a handful of people. But yet, what do we see? Anytime there's a handful of people protesting, they're the ones who are going to get the attention and not necessarily what's going on inside the main venue. And for a short time yesterday, that was the story. Thankfully, it passed. And we got to the business of basketball, and we got to the fantastic games we had in round 2 last night at Bon Secours Wellness Arena. And you heard Price Atkinson. You talked to Mark Emmert, the NCAA president. You talked to people associated with the NCAA. They were, to use Price's word, ecstatic about how this tournament went. And Greenville is a viable venue moving forward. Again, those protesters, I didn't like them being there. I thought it was silly. I thought it was stupid, but they had the right to do it as long as they follow the confines of the law. And the great thing about this country and what it was built on, folks, is that I may disagree with you, but that doesn't mean that you don't have the right to do things as long as you do it within the confines of the law. They did that, and 10 or 12 people got their 15 minutes of fame yesterday, and people like Jeff Schultz took it and tried to blow it up into something more than it was, when the AP, I thought, did a good job of reporting it straightforward and moving on, and we got down to the business of basketball. So to Jeff Schultz, come on, man, to quote the segment on ESPN, come on, man, you're better than that. I've been reading your stuff for years. You are better than that. To try to take that one small incident and blow it up out of proportion and be as snarky as you were setting your clocks back 150 years. Anybody who was at this tournament knows that's not the case. And for you to do that, I just thought it was way, way over the top and way out of line. But you know what? Again, freedom of speech. He's got the right to do so. I have the right to disagree, and I also have the platform to disagree with it publicly here, and I'm using that today. All right, I've got my large carcass off of that soapbox, and the soapbox is most happy for that. As I said, tomorrow on the program, we'll be talking some more baseball. We'll talk, hopefully, some Furman basketball. We still don't know where the Paladins are going to be playing in the in the quarterfinal round of the CIT, because second round games are actually going on from tonight through Wednesday. So we may not know until Wednesday for a game that's going to be played sometime between Friday and Sunday. I was looking at the possibilities yesterday of where the Paladins could go, because pretty much we have committed, from what I've been told, to playing this entire tournament on the road. So it could be anywhere from Bowie's Creek, North Carolina, to Ogden, Utah, to Idaho, Texas, anywhere in between. That's where this tournament is right now, spread out that far. Also, of course, you've got Sanford and down in Birmingham. Would it be interesting to get those two teams together again after the SoCon tournament? We'll see what happens, but hopefully we'll be able to start getting a little bit of a better picture of what goes on today. I think Sanford is at Liberty tonight, and Furman played there in the non-conference season and beat the Flames in a good non-conference win. It'll be intriguing to see how Scott Padgett's club does there this evening. So we'll try to give you more information on that moving forward and see what else we can come up with as the show goes on. Having said that, our thanks to Price Atkinson for joining us, especially on short notice and short sleep, and we'll be back with you tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.